Don't touch your remote. Today on SFA Now, we'll be taking a look at the Kinesiology Department. Stay tuned.
Welcome to SFA Now. I'm your host, Savannah Wilberding. Joining me today is Cade Wheeler, who's here to tell you about his experience within the Kinesiology Department here at SFA. Welcome to the show, Cade.
Thank you for having me, Savannah.
So, if you could briefly explain to us what the study of kinesiology is.
So kinesiology is the study of the body and its movement and how it interacts within its given environment, whether it be hot, cold, strenuous exercise, light exercise, everything affects how your body works.
Awesome. Are there different areas of emphasis within the kinesiology department?
There are a lot of different areas of emphasis. With kinesiology, you can be a PE coach, strength and conditioning coach, occupational therapist, physical therapist, athletic trainer. There's a lot of different things you can do with it.
And what do you mainly focus on?
Athletic training is what I like to focus on.
Awesome. What made you decide to major in kinesiology?
I wanted to pick a major that kept me close to sports and athletes, and I just really did not want to be sitting behind a desk all day pushing numbers and pencils.
What do you enjoy most about the kinesiology program?
How active and hands-on the classes are. Just last week I taught the fitnessgram to a bunch of elementary school kids, and today I was doing skill tests in class. So it's a lot more entertaining than sitting at a desk listening to a professor talk for an hour. I get to actually get experience and physically learn what I'm being taught.
Awesome. Is it interactive? Are you getting a lot of hands-on experience, more as in the classroom?
Absolutely. Every class period I have, I'm actually physically doing something, some type of movement, some type of test. I'm not just sitting down answering questions off a sheet of paper. It's so much more entertaining and interactive.
So you actually look forward to going to class?
Yes.
That's good to hear. Could you tell us about this project for one of your classes?
Yeah, I'm doing a skill test right now. So what that is I set up a penalty kick for soccer as my actual test, and I create a checklist of each step and movement that she needs to act out to correctly perform a free kick. And based off those movements, I assess and evaluate the students that participate in the test, and I can actually tell whether or not they are correctly performing the kick with more detail than just actually looking at it.
Interesting. From a student's perspective, is there anything the kinesiology department could improve on?
Maybe adding a wider variety of classes. There's a lot of your biology classes and your athletic training classes, but it kind of stops there as far as like physical therapy and occupational therapists. For classes like those, there aren't a whole lot of options, so maybe just be a little more diverse in what they have to offer.
What has been your favorite class within the kinesiology department, and why?
See, my favorite class would probably be physiology of exercise, mainly because of all the really exciting labs I get to do. A couple weeks ago, I was dissecting hearts, so that was really cool to actually see how blood flows through your body and how the heart actually works and figure out all the little inner details of it.
What kind of heart was it?
It was a cow heart.
Interesting. Do you know where they got the hearts?
I do not know.
Hopefully not from the ag department.
Let's hope not.
Piggybacking on that last question, who has been your favorite professor?
My favorite professor would have to be Dr. Todd Whitehead. He's always so energetic when he comes into class. He's very intuitive, and he engages his students in his lectures and actually requires you to participate, so you learn more than just sitting there listening to somebody talk for 50 minutes.
How many of his classes have you taken?
This is my first one this semester.
Oh, wow. So you're really enjoying that class.
I am.
For any younger kinesiology students, are there any non-required classes within your major that you wish you hadn't taken, and why?
No, there wouldn't be a whole lot of non-required classes. Every class that I've taken has been required of my degree. I really haven't been able to take classes that aren't required until now, which are just my electives. So every class that's required for the degree is important. I wouldn't say there's one that's not required that I wish I hadn't taken.
What's your least favorite elective?
Probably my my philosophy class.
Why?
Just a lot of thinking.
Do they put you on the spot a lot in that class?
Yeah, they want students to share their ideas, and just being a philosophy class, there's so many different opinions, so you never really know if you get the right answer or not.
Exactly. What are the employment options for someone who has or is going to have a kinesiology degree?
That depends all on what you actually want to do with your kinesiology degree. Like for me, I want to be an athletic trainer, so I can work at a high school and be a trainer for their sports teams. I can go to collegiate levels and be a trainer for like the Houston Texans. SFA actually had one of their students from the athletic training program go to the Houston Texans, and he trains for them now. You can be a coach at a elementary school, high school, college. You can do several different things with it.
Do you plan on continuing your degree after you graduate?
I do. I plan on applying to an athletic training program, and if that doesn't work, then I'll go to PT school.
Do you plan on staying in SFA to finish that?
Probably. SFA does have a very good athletic training program. They're very well credited.
Interesting. Is there anything you've learned in your kinesiology classes that you had no clue about before entering the program?
Probably the types of muscle fibers that are within your body. There are 3 types. There's type 1, type 2, type X, and type XA, which is type 2 and 3. Type 1 is for endurance running, so that's for long distance, like mile running, just cardiovascular exercise, and that type of muscle fiber makes up 60% of every person's body. Type 2X and type 2A are for strength, like strength and conditioning exercises. So that's for short distances, like 200-yard sprints, bench press max, when you're trying to push as much weight as possible. That's what those fibers are for. Those are a lot less in abundance unless you train them to be bigger and more defined within your body.
How and why is it important to stretch before exercising?
Stretching helps loosen your muscles, allows you to be more limber, be quicker with your reflexes, and it helps prevent injuries, sprains, tears that could happen within your sport.
Do you insist on stretching before exercising?
Yes and no. Personally, just because I've played soccer for so long, I know my limitations. I know what I can and can't do, and I'm really in tune to how my body feels, so I base a lot of my stretching off of that. But for somebody who doesn't exercise as much or is going to a new sport that they haven't played before, then I highly recommend stretching, so you just further prevent any possible injuries that could happen.
Awesome. Have you learned about ways to improve your flexibility?
Oh yeah, with isometric, concentric, and eccentric stretching, those are different styles of stretching that stretch different muscle groups in your body. It's a lot more beneficial than just static stretching, which is standing still.
Would you like to show us some?
Okay. So static stretching would be standing in one spot and stretching a certain muscle group, which is your quad. Isometric stretching would be static stretching, but with equal pressure on your muscles. So like if I was going to stretch my chest, you can push in against your hands and it pulls your whole pectoral muscles. There's also dynamic stretching, which is stretching with movement. That's a lot more beneficial than stretching as well. So that would be like doing butt kicks or doing high knees and moving while you do it.
Wow, that's awesome, Cade. Thank you very much. Have you learned any efficient or better ways to improve your muscle mass and strength in your class?
Aside from proper eating, not a whole lot. The types of muscle fibers did help me in realizing what I wanted to stretch more or work out more specifically, whether I wanted to build up my endurance muscles or short-term strength muscles. So that does help, and then the different types of stretching like isometric and concentric and eccentric, those do help as well. But as opposed to like just regular working out, I haven't really figured out a better way.
Have your classes taught you anything about nutrition?
I haven't taken any specific nutrition classes, but that being said, all my kinesiology classes have talked at least at some point about nutrition and the proper calorie counts and what you should and should not be putting into your body and how much or how little you should eat depending on how much or how little you work out.
So would you say improving your diet is a huge part to that?
Absolutely. You can build muscle and you can strengthen your body by not eating properly, but it takes a lot longer. The whole eating healthy foods, that plays a big part in how fast and how efficient your muscles will get stronger and more tone.
I've read recently that running may not be as good as a cardio workout as people think. Is there any truth to that?
Absolutely. Running puts a lot of shock and pressure on your ankles, knees, and hips, which is very bad in the long run. So you may not feel it when you're 20, but when you're 60 down the road, you're going to regret running all those miles.
So running on a treadmill or just running in general?
Running on a treadmill is a little better. It tends to have a little less of an impact than running on concrete or hard ground does. But running in general, yes, is not the greatest exercise you could do.
What's a good supplement for running?
Swimming would be a great supplement. Swimming is a non-weight-bearing exercise, which means your body is not supporting your weight. So if you're in the water is supporting your weight. And as well as it not being weight-bearing, it's a full-body exercise. You have your legs, abs, chest, arms, back, every muscle is being activated. So swimming and cycling is also another great exercise. It's also non-weight-bearing because you're sitting down. The only thing that's working are your legs, which is if you're trying to run, that's what you're going to work anyway. So cycling would be another great alternative because there's no shock or pressure on your knees and ankles.
So with that being said, are there any ways for athletes to prevent further injuries or injuries as is?
Yes and no. With sports, with any serious sport athlete, injuries are just something that's bound to happen at one point or another. It's not a question of if, it's just kind of a question of when. What you can do is proper training, proper exercise, proper stretching to help prevent those injuries or make them less severe than what they can be if you don't take any of those precautions.
Do kinesiology students work with the student athletes to sharpen the skills they learn in class?
Yes, every class I've taken, the professor is very hands-on, and they want to help you. They want to see what you're doing. They want you to ask questions. They want you to not know the answers so they can show you what is and what isn't right.
This is the part of the show where I say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining us here on SFA Now. Have a great day.